Myra.
And I'm Tressa, and we're Fancy Marketing People with Union, a Wyoming-based telecommunications company. Yes, Wyoming really does exist, and we proudly serve the Rocky Mountain region.
On this podcast, we will feature businesses, organizations, nonprofits, and influential people from Utah, Colorado, and Wyoming.
Our mission is to highlight those that inspire their communities daily.
We believe this makes us truly authentic because a journey of 1,000 miles always begins with a single step.
Myra.
Tressa, hey.
So glad to see that you're okay.
I know. I think it's not funny, but between the last podcast and this podcast, so much has changed. And, 1 minute I'm telling you I'm in the storm and I might not have internet or power, and now it's an entire region that has been completely devastated.
Yeah. What's the name, like, just for listeners to have context?
Yeah,
it's
absolutely. Hurricane Helene.
Helene.
So, yeah, Helene.
Okay.
Come on, Helene. Yeah, instead of come on, Eileen. A little comic relief. This is not funny. But for those in listener land, I know that I've shared that I relocated to North Carolina, and, I'm remote and I do the podcast remote. And here I live in Western North Carolina. I'm a Western North Carolina native, and I love Western North Carolina with all my heart. And Hurricane Helene made a path into the mountains of North Carolina. And I mean, it's landlocked. We're inland. We only have the dams can hold only so much water. Some of our mountain communities, on the news this morning, I actually saw my town 5 miles from my house on national news this morning. And, it's crazy because you're seeing this coverage of, I'm in Morganton, but you can see coverage of Asheville, North Carolina, and Boone, and these, touristy more communities. But it's these rural, small mountain communities that are extremely devastated and highly impacted by this too. And people have lost their homes, lives. They cannot get access to food and water. Most of these communities are only accessible by air. And, this impact is just, I can't believe I'm witnessing it, and they say it's a 1,000-year flood. This is like Noah's Ark. I mean, it is devastating. It is wild to even witness and to see. And, so it has completely rocked Western North Carolina. It is very, humbling to be in this situation. And, I've been able to contact people, and the best part is my Union phone was my only phone that worked. So thank you to Union. All the way in North Carolina, I was only able to reach people for my Union phone. So shout out to Union. And, one of the things that I wanted to talk about before we get started, and it's really what the podcast is all about. I've been very, I'm not lightly using the word blessed, but I find this position very fortunate, and I'm in a lucky position with the podcast and with this job at Union to be able to connect with resources in Wyoming and learn about organizations and benefits and charities and all these wonderful people in local communities who are doing the work, who are making these connections across the state of Wyoming. And, I'm fortunate to get to know these people and to know what they do. And then the whole point of the podcast and why we started it is to connect those people and to get the word out and to get the information out. And, one particular organization is Wyoming 211, and we've had them on the podcast multiple times. And we love Wyoming 211, and I know all about them, and we've asked, share your experiences. I never thought that I would be using North Carolina 211 to locate a missing person. We went, I think, 72 hours without contact from my mother's husband during this. And, I didn't even hesitate to contact 211 because I'm so familiar with this resource. And I was, they got back to me the best that they could. They're doing welfare checks, search and rescue. And so to know these organizations and these connections, my PSA is folks in Wyoming, these resources only exist because of you and your volunteering, your word, your support, donations, making sure these organizations can survive and thrive. You never know when you'll need them. I can't believe that I needed it, and in a way I never thought I would need it. And right now in these mountain communities, it's the local organizations that are doing the work, that are getting food and resources to these people offering helicopter access and plane access and support. And so that's just my sombering PSA.
Yeah.
I'm not as lively as normal today on this morning, but this is why we have the podcast, to connect people to these beautiful organizations that do so much for Wyoming communities. And that's the heart and soul of these people right now here in North Carolina too.
Yeah. Do you think, without your connection to Wyoming 211, I mean, it's a national organization.
Yeah.
Obviously, you're utilizing it in North Carolina. But do you think you would have even known that was a resource there for you? I mean, you're a smart woman. You probably would have figured it out. But
Yeah, well, what's so crazy, all of our communications were cut. One, from the towers were knocked down.
Sure.
But two, I believe they did limit communications in these communities to allow only emergency calls and responses. And so a couple things. One, I knew about iOS 18 satellite because I work for Union to connect and call people via satellite.
Yep.
So that's something I don't know if I would have known. And I would not have known about 211 either. And I wouldn't have trusted it, because in these moments, I mean, Facebook has been such a huge resource for people. I've been able to connect. My mother's husband lives in Yancey County. He lives on a mountain. He's very isolated in a rural subset community. And via Facebook, I was able to find a daughter of a neighbor who was looking for answers too, and wanted to know if her father was alive and could people get us medication to him. And, we've been able to make all these connections via social media. And North Carolina 211, no one knew about it. No one knows about it. Just like I didn't know about Wyoming 211. And
Right.
I've been able to use my platform and share what I know, and people are sharing these resources and information. And I don't know if I would have trusted it, like I said, because it's for search and rescue.
Right.
I'm filling out a form. They don't know me. I don't even know if I'm getting answers. I'm posting, now I can joke about Jeff because he's with us.
Safe.
Yeah. And I told him, I said, you were on the side of a milk carton for several days. And he's like, yeah, I know. And it was, he showed up to my house because the last known location of my mom was at my house.
Okay.
And in this time span of our last contact with Jeff, we got out of Burke County. We were in Caldwell County. We were at my mom's. We had pivoted. We didn't have water. We didn't have power. We barely made it out. I-40's closed. The interstate says all roads to Western North Carolina are closed.
Right.
He had no idea. And it's very surreal to know, like, the last known location was here. And I just so happened to be here. And I was texting you. You're the only reason I was at my house. I stayed behind. And I was talking to you, and Blake had left, and that's the only reason I was here. Or he would have
missed
he
you.
wouldn't have known. I mean, he could see my home was fine, but he wouldn't have known. And so, I mean, the normal commute's an hour and a half. It took him 5 hours.
Oh my goodness.
And so,
Well, I'm glad your family's safe. Everything else will start to work itself out. But
yeah,
yeah,
I agree.
All right.
Well,
should we get to our guest today?
Yeah, our guest is an amazing human being. It is Lexi Revellis. She is Miss Wyoming for America Strong, and we are so excited to have her on the podcast.
Hey, Lexi.
Hey, Lexi.
Hey, guys. I'm so happy to be here. Thank you so much for having me.
So, Lexi, before you joined, Myra and I were just chatting about, like, pageants in general. Mm-hmm. And, like, Miss Wyoming for America Strong is completely different from like Miss Wyoming in general, right? Can you maybe explain the pageant world to us and the listeners a little bit more?
Yes, absolutely. I would love to. And just before that, I just briefly want to
Yeah.
say, Myra, I'm sorry for the impact that you're experiencing, and just sending prayers and blessings and good energy to North Carolina. So
Yeah,
my
thank you,
heart,
Lexi. Normally, I
absolutely.
am way more ridiculous and a lot funnier than this, so I apologize that we started off on but it's
No,
just the awareness, and we can get to more of it on the podcast too. This is
absolutely.
why we have to be there for each other, and why rural communities have to stick together and have to uplift each other when no one else will. So that's kind of my look
Absolutely.
here, but in a different region.
Absolutely. I agree. I agree. Yeah, so with pageantry, there are different systems. So there's like USA system, there's the America system, and the pageant that I am competing in, I actually compete with married women as well. So there's 3 title holders in each state, 2 married women, and then 1 non-married woman. And this is actually the oldest pageant system there is. So yeah, I'm very honored, and it's been an amazing system to be a part of so far. But yeah, there's a lot of different systems in pageantry that you can be a part of. I think it's just choosing one that you resonate with the most.
What do you think makes you resonate with this one the most?
Well, so I competed in the USA system for like 10 years, and it was a great experience. I think that this one, the motto and the intention is "We are family." And that's something that I really value. I think as women, we face a lot of pressure already to have it all together, to look a certain way. And one thing that I really admire about this pageant system is the sisterhood and the family, and also the nonprofit organization that represents this pageant system is called Victoria's Voice Foundation. And it's a nonprofit that represents mental health and substance abuse awareness, which is something I'm really passionate about as well, and part of my platform. So,
That's great.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So speaking of your platform, do you want to talk more about what your platform is and how you're using your platform through the Miss Wyoming for America Strong, and what this looks like? Because like Tressa said, I'm not familiar with, I know that you can have a platform and have a stance, but how is this really impacting those? And what is your platform, and what are you doing with it?
Yeah, so my platform is Carson Cares. When I was 17, my brother Carson died from an opioid overdose, and he was only 20 at the time. And through his death, my family and I created a nonprofit in his name where we give back to the community in different ways. We host 5K events. We usually give scholarships to senior students in Mountain View, Wyoming, and we usually have them apply for the scholarship with an essay answering a question that revolves around mental health and substance abuse. And I just think it's a huge thing right now. It's a huge topic. And I'm actually a holistic health guide. I work on people's feet, actually, and I help them navigate their emotional world in a more positive way so that they maybe don't feel like they have to use substances as a band-aid. And so it's through this platform of Miss Wyoming as well that I'm able to really share this and connect with more people and share more resources. And it's amazing that I'm here today. And like you guys were saying prior, really connecting communities together in rural areas is so important, especially out here in Wyoming where mental health is such a huge topic, and we're actually the number 1 state. We kind of toss around between us, I believe, in Montana and Alaska for suicide. And so these conversations are really important. And I'm just really grateful that through my life experiences and the trauma that I've had, that I am now able to be a voice. And if somebody can resonate, just with one person even could resonate and take something from what I have to say, then I'm honored, and I'm honored to represent Wyoming as well. So,
Yeah, that's great.
thank you.
Yeah, I mean, we definitely here at Union and in my personal life as well want to support people with mental health awareness. We talk about awareness a lot, though, and it's like, what actions do people have to take, though, right? The awareness is one thing, but there's actions behind it. And it's interesting because I saw something today. One of my friends sent this to me actually as a reel on Instagram. And it was talking about addiction and that sobriety isn't always the solution to addiction. It was really, really interesting that connection is what people are craving, right?
Absolutely.
Connection is what helps people with addiction. So if they don't have connection, because we're meant to have connection, I believe, as a human race, they're going to find something, whether that be food, alcohol, shopping, whatever it is, right?
Yep.
To take that and replace that connection with it. So, like, as you think, I hope this isn't too much of a deep question, but as you think about your brother, can you see now maybe where there was a limited connection that he was suffering through? Or how do you feel about what I just shared with you, I guess? And you too, Myra, you can share as well.
Yeah, I mean, for my brother's standpoint, he was young, 20 years old, and I think that you're already going through so much as a young adult, trying to figure life out and have it all together. And I definitely believe that you're right, Tressa. Community is everything, especially in these rural areas. And I think my brother specifically was trying to fit in with a crowd that really wasn't meant for him. And it's scary as you get older and you're kind of needing to let go of those old parts of you, and you're trying to find your way and figure out who you are. And definitely think that kids and young adults need just so much connection, community support. And so absolutely, I agree with you 100% on that.
Yeah, I agree as well. I know because you look at mental health on a spectrum, I have not suffered from an opioid addiction, and I'm thankful for that. And my heart goes out to you, Lexi, and your family, and to your brother. And, but I look at parts of my life, and in major transitions of my life, I have felt very isolated. And in those moments of isolation, what I chose to do, I didn't turn to substances, but I turned to shopping. And that sounds silly, but it's true. I mean, I can look at moments of my life. I'm going through my closets now and unpacking boxes still and looking, and everyone's like, Myra, what were you doing? And they don't get it in the moment, but in moments of my life, I can see where I transitioned to college and I felt alone and isolated and in a different community, and I wasn't around people. Was in a difficult relationship at the time that was mentally abusive, and in that moment, I remember I would shop all the time. I would go and walk around the mall just to feel people, to be with people, to be around people. And then I look at other times in my life where when I relocated to Wyoming and I was alone and I hadn't built a community yet, and I would shop. And then what's interesting enough, I'm going through my clothes and I'm looking and I'm like, when did I buy this? And during both of my pregnancies, my shopping peaked. And I couldn't even wear some of this stuff. I don't know what I was thinking or why, but I think it was a mental health, it was a response to my mental health at the time of feeling isolated. And, people don't think about it. Being pregnant, you feel isolated sometimes. It can be you feel alone. You feel like I'm alone with this body that I don't know or I'm not aware of, or this baby and what is going on around me. My life is changing, but I worked through it by supplementing something else. And in those moments, if I felt connected to people in different ways, it could have been different. But I've noticed now I'm not buying as much. I'm around people that I love and people that I could only connect with every so often or via phone or whatever that looked like. And I don't know the last time I've bought new clothes. And if I do, it's one item at a time. I'm not buying hordes of clothing, and that's something that I noticed in the past that I was doing.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, I think it's so true. Like I think too, social media is such a great tool. Like you just shared, Myra, about social media and your situation has been beneficial. I also think it's also a negative in some senses where people start to look and compare what that image looks like versus what their reality is. So I think it's a two-sided coin to a degree, but yeah.
Yeah, I agree.
So
Absolutely.
Lexi, like going back to your using your platform in this way, I know you're going through Carson Cares, like, and I love the scholarships and those kind of things. Can you share with us like what other, and your personal stuff where, I mean, Lexi's my foot zoner. She zones my feet for me and helps me as well. So shout out there. She's great. So like what does that future look like? Where do you want to take it from where you are today? What's the next steps for you?
Yeah, thank you. And I'm so happy that you enjoy foot zoning. I definitely enjoy giving you one. So they're amazing. I definitely have a big vision. And I think even just being here and connecting with you, amazing women, and it's just kind of setting the tone for that. And I definitely want to expand Carson Cares more. We do our scholarship every year, which I think is great. And we also take items down to the burn unit in Salt Lake City or help out the homeless. One thing that I really think would be beneficial that I would like to do is definitely more podcasts like this and getting more of that awareness or spreading the tools, I guess, if you will, whether that's like breath work or even just teaching people. And thank you for sharing your story, Myra, about experiencing your emotions and that it's okay. And that it's also okay to connect and to reach out for help. And I recently had the opportunity to go to a training about suicide prevention. And it was a lot about making that call and staying connected. And I think this comes down to not being scared of those emotions. Like that's kind of that deeper layer there. And one thing that I really say a lot is when we resist things, it persists. And so when we can allow ourselves to just for a moment experience those emotions and also channel the buffalo, like we're in Wyoming here, the buffalo, they head through the storm.
The
because,
storm.
because they know
Yeah.
that's the fastest way through. And
Yeah.
so definitely channeling more of that energy. But I guess the impact that I want to have through Carson Cares and just this platform is really just connecting with people and trying to get the word out as much as possible that it doesn't matter who you are, it doesn't matter what you're going through. You are enough and you are worthy to have a good life, and you can actually get yourself out of this survival mode and into this creative power that we all hold within. So, yeah.
Yeah, I love that. So, as you're on your platform as Miss Wyoming for America Strong, like what does that look like? Is that like a year long? Do you go out and do community events, speeches? Like, tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, so the reign is really up to you, but it's a year-long reign, and you can really do whatever you want with it. You can reach out to as many places as you want, talk to the schools. For me, I just got back from Vegas and competed at the national level with all the other states, and it was amazing. And actually, North Carolina ended up winning Miss for America. So,
Oh, wow.
yeah, Jacqueline Drake, she's amazing.
I think I know her, actually.
Really?
Yeah.
She's the
That's
race
cool.
car driver.
Yeah, I think I actually know her.
That's hilarious.
But that's really cool. Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, go to North
Small
Carolina.
world we
Woohoo,
got.
North Carolina. Yeah, she's got a lot. She's going through probably this week, so I don't.
Yeah, I'm sure. So, yeah, so it's a lot. It really depends on what you want to do with your brain and your platform and how you want to show up in that way. So for me, I've helped educate kids on substance abuse. I actually teamed up with the Lyman Police Department at one point and talked to them and shared my story about substance abuse awareness and, again, this kind of emotional regulation that I feel like needs to be talked about more. And I definitely want to talk to the schools more and do more with Carson Cares and show up on more podcasts like this. I think that would be great. And just really as much as I can do, as I really just want to serve. I want to serve and I want to be here for Wyoming in any way I can. So, yeah.
Yeah, I love that. Yeah, I think it's important really to get into like talking to the youth, right? Because that's if they can have a stronger foundation of connection and understanding their authenticity at a younger age, I think that is the recipe for a lot of this reducing a lot of what we're seeing changing. So I love that. It's great.
Yeah, absolutely. And going back to like the social media thing as well, I think it is just so prevalent, this kind of comparison that we have. So the more we can connect with the youth, I mean, yeah, they are our future generation. And when I went to that suicide prevention class, it was actually at the school, and there are a lot of kids who are struggling. And so definitely would love to educate the kids more. They're just, I don't know, they're powerful, and they need that support. So.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, can you talk a little bit about like the pageant itself? Like, how do you prepare for that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
What's that look like?
Yeah.
So a lot of it for me was interview, because that's half of your score. So the interview process, it's a skill. You only have 4 minutes with each judge, and you have to really be vulnerable and know who you are in that 4-minute time period to really connect with somebody. So that in of itself is a skill, to be able to talk that fast and not get so nervous. And so a lot of the preparation beforehand for me looked like answering interview questions, doing mock interviews with people. And then there is a modeling competition as well. So you model swimwear and you model evening gown. And so I like to stay fit. I practice yoga. And so a lot of it was just continuing my practice and eating really healthy and just making myself feel good. I think that was what was most important to me. And I think that there's also this stigma that pageantry might have, that you have to, kind of going back to what I said before, this pressure that we maybe face as women to look a certain way. And one thing that I was really trying to do this year and in preparation for the national pageant was just really channel who I am authentically. And like, I didn't wear hair extensions. I actually didn't get a spray tan. I just really wanted to show up as true to myself as possible, which can be challenging in a world where there is a lot of pressure to have it all together and to maybe look a certain way. And I felt that I felt a lot better, and I really think that it's not about how you look. And that's what I want women who are listening to know, who are maybe interested in doing something like this, is you're really building confidence in who you are, and you're getting to know yourself on a deep level. And then through that process, you're able to say no to things that really aren't in alignment with you anymore. And that was one of my intentions going into this, was to just be as true to myself as possible. And I was grateful. I actually made the semifinalists, the top 15 for Wyoming. And I think
That's
that,
awesome.
thank you. A lot of that was because that was my intention, and I felt really good, which I think is what matters the most. So there is a lot of preparation that goes into pageantry, but I feel like it really is worth it. And it's been such a huge confidence builder for me, and it's helped me connect with amazing people and share my story. So, yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
you.
I think what I'm hearing is just the discovery of loving yourself and like
Yes.
truly loving yourself for who you are. And, you know, when you love yourself in that capacity, you are able to set those boundaries and to block out the noise or the expectations, or to say no, or to remove these, you know, preconceived ideas of what you should look like in a pageant or how you should be in a pageant. And so I really think that, you know, what you're doing and being you and just showing up as you is really, really special. And I think that's really cool for the pageant world and for girls and for people who are looking up to those, you know, in the state and needing an influence, that using that influence for good of being, you know, you.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's amazing. Like I think it's something I definitely admire what you did, Lexi, because that's, you know, like you're talking hair extensions, fake eyelashes, spray tans, all the
Yeah.
things, right?
Yeah.
That is part of, well, it's part of everyday world now, right? But
Yeah.
definitely in that platform, and to just like know yourself well enough and feel comfortable, that's amazing.
Thank you.
I don't know. I think it's interesting that we're kind of going down this road, because I had an opportunity to hang out with some of my friends last week, a pretty large group of women. And it was really interesting, the topics that we talked about, like breast augmentation, who has them, who doesn't, who's going to get them, who's not. You know, and
Yes.
it just got me thinking, because I'm kind of a serious thinker sometimes, but, you know, like, wow, like as women, there is all this pressure. And it made me feel a little sad, to be honest, that, you know, there's so much pressure that people are, you know, spending thousands of dollars to change their body, instead of just trying to go, I love who I am. My body is a beautiful vessel that contains my soul, really, and just really embracing that. So I just love that you shared that you were able to do just that in a pretty competitive world there. So
Thank you. Yeah, thank you. And I think it's interesting, because I think when we can really love ourselves naturally and for who we are, I worked with an amazing mentor once, Callie Bishop, and she was actually a former Miss Wyoming, and she's this feminine coach now that really teaches rewilding yourself and loving yourself for who you are. And then it's important to not look outside to make ourselves feel better. And I think that's what I'm trying to get at here, is that
Yep.
you're enough just the way you are already.
So do you think working with her was kind of a turning point for you to kind of really start to embrace that?
Absolutely, absolutely. She's amazing. She helps women, like I was saying, rewild themselves. And she does a lot of challenges where she has her clients and just random people that follow her. They do no makeup challenges. And so you'll post
Okay.
every day, and having to look yourself in the mirror and, you know, really compliment yourself when you're not wearing makeup. And I think that that's so important, because then you're putting on makeup eventually just as like because you want to, not because you feel like you have to. And I think that that's what's most important. But yes, I would say definitely having a mentor was so important for me. I feel like everybody needs a mentor who is sort of going through something similar, to kind of be that guide and give those tidbits of information that you might not have heard otherwise. So yes.
Yeah, definitely. And that goes back to the connection, right? We do need each other. We do need
Yes.
to have that mirror held up. Sometimes we can't see things when we're too close to the situation.
Yeah.
Yes.
So, yeah,
Yes.
I love that.
Exactly. Yes.
Well, you kind of talked about your goals for the future. Is there anything that maybe we haven't touched on that you wanted
Yeah.
to make sure you were able to talk about today?
Yeah, I just think that I would like to share for anybody that's listening, that's married or non-married in the state of Wyoming. If you feel like you have a story that you want to share, or if you're wanting to gain more confidence in yourself, in your life and would like to come be part of an amazing group of women, I would love to talk to you, or you can even email. I don't know if I could just share that right now. It's wyomingamerica@gmail.com. You can email our amazing director, Megan, there if you're interested. And everyone can be a part of it. There's actually not an age limit here. And so it's a really great confidence builder. And again, just building that connection like we've been talking about, that was kind of at the forefront of our conversation here. And the sisterhood and coming together in that way has been just really transformative for my life. So if anyone listening feels the call, I'd love to share more or send you that information. Yeah.
Yeah, that's great. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. And thank you guys for having me. This has been great.
Yeah, thank you so much. And, I hope those listening, they do reach out. I think these groups are so important, and the action to just be a part of it and to make the call and to get through those emotions like we talked about earlier, to just make the call, and to get connected. So I hope those listening, if you're feeling it, do it, be a part of that. So
Yeah. Just do it, like Nike
yeah,
says.
yeah, just do it.
Absolutely. I mean, we all have something unique and beautiful to share in this world, I would say. And definitely just making that call, like you said, and taking that next step forward is always a good idea. So, yeah. And I'd love to meet you all. So,
Well, we always end the podcast with one last question for the guest, and that is, how do you stay authentic?
That's a lovely question. I would say I stay authentic by knowing that I am unique in myself and that there is no one else like me. Although we are so connected as humans, we all have this divine expression of God that lives through us. And I think that's how I stay authentic and true. And loving myself is knowing that there is no one else like me, and that's so beautiful, right? We're all so different, and that's what makes this world so special. So
I love that.
Yeah, I do too. That's amazing.
thanks you guys. Thank you so
Well,
much.
yeah, thank you so much, Lexi. We really do appreciate it.
I'm so grateful. Have a great day.
You too.
See ya.
Yeah. Until next time.
Yes.
Stay authentic.
Stay authentic.